Hello there, a very good evening and welcome to another edition of Primetime News on TV1. I'm Charlotte Benedict for the Newsfirst team.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekara. Here are your headlines for tonight.
Deshabandhu remanded over Aragalaya attack. Investigations reveal he failed to take action to prevent the violence. Public notice for Rajitha to appear in court. Arrest warrant issued for Diana. Charmer questioned over illicit assets. Catholic bishops meet president. Postal strike continues. Minister takes firm stand. New tax category for electric vehicles that also use fuel to operate motors. Case file.
Taking a look at those stories in detail now, it was revealed today in court that former Inspector General of Police Deshabandhu Thennakoon, who served as the Western Province Senior DIG in 2022, failed to take action to prevent the attack on peaceful protesters at Galface on the 9th of May 2022. Appearing before the Fourth Magistrates Court following his arrest, Thennakoon was identified as a suspect in the case related to the violent crackdown on the Aragalaya movement. Deputy Solicitor General Vasantha Pereira said in court that Thennakoon had instructed officers not to intervene until his orders were given, despite the presence of approximately 2,000 armed individuals attacking unarmed civilians. The prosecution argued that Thennakoon's inaction amounted to aiding and abetting the attackers.
Former Inspector General of Police Deshabandhu Thennakoon, who was arrested Wednesday evening by the Criminal Investigation Department, was presented before Colombo Fort Magistrate Nilupuli, Lanka today around 1 p.m. During the hearing, Deputy Solicitor General Vasantha Pereira informed the court of the progress of the investigation and stated that Thennakoon, who was the Senior Deputy Inspector General of Police for the Western Province at the time, had two clear opportunities to prevent the attack on the Galface protest movement. Quote,
"There were intelligence reports received the day before this attack. However, as the senior-most officer present, he failed to take the necessary action. The suspect has stated that the then Inspector General of Police and the Secretary of Defence instructed not to disperse the crowd that came to assault the protesters. When statements were being recorded from them regarding the incident, they denied this. The group that came to attack the protesters could have been stopped near the Galface roundabout. They could have been stopped near the Taj Samudra Hotel. But that was not done. Instead, they allowed to proceed and watched passively. Junior officers under his command have said that he instructed them not to suppress the clash until he gave orders. It was only after everything was over that he gave instructions to use water cannons. Even when unarmed civilians approached and said, 'Sir, they are attacking us,' he did not take action. He simply watched as around 2,000 armed individuals assaulted a small group of unarmed people. This goes beyond negligence. It is a deliberate act of enabling the perpetrators."
Unquote. Deputy Solicitor General Vasantha Pereira stated that the suspect consistently attempts to evade the legal process by challenging it at every turn. Quote,
Your Honor, the Criminal Investigation Department conducted an investigation into this incident. Following that, the Attorney General, after reviewing the investigation files, issued instructions on the 19th of April 2023 to name him as a suspect in the case. Subsequently, he appealed to the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal then issued a restraining order, nullifying the Attorney General's directive. Afterward, the Attorney General challenged this decision before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court temporarily suspended the restraining order issued by the Court of Appeal and granted an interim injunction. Following this, the suspect submitted a bail application before this court, which Your Honor rejected yesterday. His conduct consistently challenges the law. He does not submit to the legal process, but instead tries to maneuver around it. Investigations are still ongoing. Statements are yet to be recorded from the former president and several police officers. The inquiry is still in progress. Given that he is a former Inspector General of Police, there is a possibility he could interfere with the investigation. Therefore, Your Honor, We respectfully request that the suspect be remanded.
Unquote. Attorney at Law Ajit Patirana, appearing on behalf of the suspect, stated that the Attorney General's Department has acted with bias against Deshabandhu Thennakoon in relation to this incident. Quote,
He is the 36th Inspector General of Police in Sri Lanka, with 36 years of service. Your Honour, he has no capacity to exert influence or pressure on witnesses. The reason he needs to be under protection is because of the Yukti operation he carried out during his tenure as IGP. He is now simply Deshabandhu, a civilian. Therefore, I respectfully request that my client be released on bail under any suitable conditions.
Unquote. Upon considering the facts, the magistrate inquired about the remaining investigative steps to be carried out. Responding to this, the Deputy Solicitor General Vasantha Pereira stated that statements are yet to be recorded from the former president and several police officers. Taking this into account, the magistrate ordered that statements from the relevant police officers be completed within the coming week. Subsequently, the suspect, former IGP Deshabandhu Thennakoon, was remanded until the 27th of August.
The Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption posted a notice at the residence of former Minister Rajitha Senaratne, summoning him to appear before the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court on the 29th.
A team of officers from the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption visited the residence of former Minister Rajitha Senaratne in Malabe and publicly announced using a loudspeaker that he is required to appear before the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court.
මේ අධිකරණයේ අධිකරණ බල සීමාව ඇතුළත වූ කොළඹදී 2012 වූ ජූනි මාස 23 වන දින විදේශීය සමාගමක් මගින් ඉල්ලුම් නොකළ ව්‍යාපෘති යෝජනාවක් අවිධිමත්ව අනුමැතිය ලබා දීම හා කැණීම් යාත්‍රාවක් අවිධිමත්ව බදු ලබා දී ඇති බවට වූ පැමිණිල්ලට උත්තර දීම සඳහා එකී නම්බුකාර හැලමගේ රාජිත හරිචන්ද්‍ර සේනාරත්න යන අය අල්ලා ගැනීම පිණිස වූ වරෙන්තුවක් එකී කොළඹ කොට්ටාශයේ සහ ඒ කොට්ටාශයේ සඳහා වූ මහේස්ත්‍රාත්වරයන් විසින් 2025 වූ අගෝස්තු මාස 12 වන දින නිකුත් කරන ලදීද තව එකී නම්බුකාර හැලමගේ රාජිත හරිචන්ද්‍ර සේනාරත්න සැකලිල්ලේ සිටින බව නැතහොත් වත්පත්වී සිටින බවද එම නිසා එකී වරෙන්තුව ක්‍රියාවේ යෙදවිය නොහැකි බවද මා සෑහීමකට පත්වන පරිදි පෙන්වා දෙනු ලැබ ඇති හේයින්ද එකී පැමිණිල්ලට උත්තර දීම සඳහා 2025 වූ අගෝස්තු මාස 29 වන දින පෙරවරු 9ට කොළඹ ප්‍රධාන මහේස්ත්‍රාත් අධිකරණ ශාලාවෙහි එකී නම්බුකාර හැදලේ රාජිත හරිචන්ද්‍ර සේනාරත්න පැමිණ පෙනී සිටින ලෙස නියම කරමින් මේ ප්‍රකාශනය කරනු ලැබේ.
Following the announcement, officers proceeded to affix the official notice at the residence of Rajitha Senaratne.
Case file.
The Colombo Chief Magistrates Court has issued an arrest warrant for former Member of Parliament Diana Gamage after she failed to appear in court today. The warrant was issued in connection with a case filed under the Immigration and Emigration Act, which accuses Gamage of submitting false information to obtain a passport and remaining in Sri Lanka without a valid visa. Chief Magistrate Tanuja Lakmali Jayatunga ordered that Gamage be taken into custody and produced before the court. The magistrate also ordered for notice to be served on those who placed bonds. Former State Minister Chamara Sampath Dasanayake was summoned to the Illegal Assets Investigation Division in connection with an ongoing probe into the alleged acquisition of illicit assets. He was questioned for over 5 hours, during which a detailed statement was recorded.
Case file.
Former Minister of Petroleum Resources Development Anura Priyadarshana and 5 other defendants were served indictments before the Colombo High Court over multiple charges, including the misuse of public funds. The indictments were presented before High Court Judge Manjula Tilakaratne. Following the proceedings, each defendant was released on bail consisting of 100,000 rupees in cash and 2 personal sureties of 1 million rupees each. The pre-trial conference for the case has been scheduled for the 1st of October. The Attorney General has filed 5 charges against the accused, alleging that during the 2014 to 2015 period, over 6 million rupees belonging to the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation was unlawfully spent under the guise of flood relief efforts, thereby constituting a misuse of state funds.
Minister Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa once again informed postal trade unions that he is ready for discussions provided that demands related to overtime allowances and fingerprints are withdrawn. Postmaster General Ruwan Satyakumara stated that the Treasury has indicated that there is no possibility to release funds to pay salaries of postal workers who have not reported for duty. Due to the ongoing strike action by several postal trade unions, the Postal Department has reported a financial loss of approximately 100 million rupees so far.
The ongoing postal workers' strike is being carried out based on 19 key demands, including issues related to overtime allowances and the use of fingerprint machines for recording attendance. The strike, now in its 4th day, is taking place against a backdrop of all leave for Postal Department staff being cancelled. A total of 23 trade unions are participating in the strike, including the United National Postal Workers Union, Sri Lanka Nidahas Postal and Telecommunication Workers Union, United Postal and Telecommunication Workers Union, Sri Lanka Nidahas Postal Services Union and Sri Lanka Postal Workers Front. Due to the strike, several post offices across the country, including the Colombo Central Mail Exchange, remained closed. Members of the public who came to access postal services expressed frustration, saying they have been facing severe difficulties for the past 4 days.
රාජ්‍ය සේවකයෝනේ තමන් අවංක නම් තමන් සේවයට බැඳිලා ඉන්නවා නම් තමන්ගේ කාලය තුල ඒ රැකියාව කරනවා නම් ඒ ඇඟිලි සලකුණ අස්සම් කිරීම ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ වගකීමක් යුතුයකමක්.
අපිත් රජයේ සේවය තමයි අපි කුරුණෑකට මෙතන කෝච්චියට නගින්නේ 4:45ට. ගෙදර එන්නේ 8ට. ඒ හේතුව මොකද දන්නවද? ෆින්ගර් මාක් එකට හරියට දුවණින් ගහන්න ඕන නිසා. අනික් රාජ්‍ය සේවයට ගරු කිරීමක් වශයෙන් හරි දෙපාර්තමේන්තයේ වැඩ කරන රාජ්‍ය සේවයන්ටත් එකම නීතිය තියෙන්න ඕනේ.
මම දරුවගේ මේ උප්පැන්න ගැටලුවක් කියලා එකට දිවුරුම් ප්‍රකාශයක් දෙන්න කිව්වා. රිදීගම ගියා මුද්දර ගන්න රිදීගමත් නැහැ. පස්සේ රුපියල් 50යි මුද්දරේ පයි දිවුරුම් ප්‍රකාශයට කුරුණෑගලාව කන්තරුව වහලා. ඉතින්
Meanwhile, the Postal and Telecommunication Officers Union and the Joint Postal Trade Union Alliance held a press conference stating that the strike will continue until their demands are met.
The core issue of this strike is not the use of fingerprint machines or a demand for excessive overtime. Fingerprinting is already being properly implemented by the Postal Department. If further instructions are given, we are ready to comply. We are not rejecting state policy or acting outside the bounds of public service regarding overtime. We are not demanding more hours. The issue arose when the payment rate for overtime hours was changed. This is a matter that can be resolved through discussion. The Minister is inviting us for talks only if we drop these two issues. We must clearly state we do not agree to that.
Minister Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa addressed Parliament regarding the ongoing postal strike.
මේ වෘත්තීය සමිති මෙතන ඉන්නේ කවුද ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් වෘත්තීය සමිති දන්නවා මොන පක්ෂ.
Let's first identify who these unions are. The Sri Lanka Nidahas Trade Union, the United National Trade Union and the Samagi Postal Trade Union have come together and disrupted operations at the Central Mail Exchange. Their two main demands are to reject the standard overtime structure accepted across the public service and demand higher rates. This is not feasible. If we discuss how overtime is calculated, even the members will agree that postal workers would be embarrassed. When claiming overtime fingerprint verification is required, many postal workers already use fingerprint machines at administrative offices. So why can't those at the Central Mail Exchange do the same? Let me break down the revised overtime rates. A second-tier postal officer previously earned 168 rupees per hour. That has now increased to 237 rupees. A senior second-tier officer's rate went from 257 rupees to 370 rupees. A first-tier officer's rate increased from 226 rupees to 324 rupees. A senior first-tier officer's rate rose from 300 rupees to 439 rupees. These increases are based on the basic salary structure effective from January 2027, and the new overtime rates have been applied since April. If demands exceed these revised rates, we simply cannot accommodate them. Last year alone, in 2024, we allocated an additional 4 billion rupees from the Treasury to the Postal Department. Around 70% of the department's earnings are spent on salaries and overtime. If those at the Central Mail Exchange agree to fingerprint verification and accept the revised overtime rates, then we can discuss the remaining 17 demands. If there are shortcomings or delays, we are open to dialogue.
The Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, together with members of the Catholic Bishops' Conference, met with President Anurakumara Dissanayake yesterday at the Presidential Secretariat.
His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit briefed President Anurakumara Dissanayake on the key points discussed at the Catholic Bishops' Conference, which convenes thrice a year. According to the President's Media Division, the meeting also focused on the ideas and proposals raised during the conference. His Lordship Harold Anthony Pereira, Bishop of Kurunegala and the President of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Sri Lanka, along with other members of the conference, were present at the meeting.
A group of civil society activists held a press conference in Colombo today stating that justice should be done to all victims of the Easter Sunday attacks.
We now
know about the Easter attacks. It is spoken of every day. But now the ones being blamed are Shani Abhisekar and Ravi Seneviratna. They said that these two were involved and they knew about it. And they question as to why they did not act. There were 268 warning letters sent to VIPs regarding the attacks. Evidence presented on the 15th of July 2020 confirmed that 268 letters were issued, including to former presidents. So, even Mahinda Rajapaksa, who often speaks so passionately about his love for the country day and night, should be held accountable. If he truly had that much love for the people and the country, at the very least he should have informed the nation through the media about these warnings. If that was done, this tragedy could have been prevented. Instead, this Rajapaksa group is now targeting the officials who conducted the investigation. This is the political culture we condemn. Mahinda Rajapaksa could not even reveal to the country that he had received such a warning letter. If he had done so, this attack would have never happened.
මේ රාජපක්ෂ නඩයට කියන්නේ මේ මුස්පේන්තු දේශපාලන සංස්කෘතියට අපි කියන්නේ මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂට බැරි වුණා තමන්ට ආපු ලිපියෙන් මෙවැනි අනතුරු ඇඟවීමක් කරලා තියෙනවා කියලා රටට හෙළි කරන්න. එහෙම වුණා නම් මෙවැනි ප්‍රහාරයක් එල්ල වෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි වර්තමාන ආණ්ඩුවට කියනවා මේ ආණ්ඩුව පත් වෙන.
We would like to inform the current government that the Cardinal of the Catholic Church had submitted a proposal. In that proposal, we requested that a special prosecutor's office be established to investigate the Easter attacks. We have not withdrawn that request. We continue to pressure the government to act. This should not be delayed.
ඒ ඉල්ලීම තාම අපි හකුලාගෙන නැහැ. අපි ඒක නිරන්තරයෙන් මේ ආණ්ඩුවට බල කරනවා. ඒක කල් මරන්න එපා.
3 additional petitions have been submitted to the Supreme Court challenging the constitutionality of provisions in the bill presented to Parliament by the government, which seeks to revoke entitlements of former presidents. The petitioners argue that certain clauses in the proposed legislation are inconsistent with the Constitution.
3 petitions have been filed before the Supreme Court challenging the constitutionality of the bill presented by the government to Parliament, which seeks to revoke the entitlements of former presidents. The petitions were submitted by Professor Mahinda Patirana, senior lecturer at the Sabaragamu University, attorney Manoj Kamage, media spokesperson for former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, and retired Rear Admiral Mohan Vijay Vikrama, former Chief of Staff of the Sri Lanka Navy. The Attorney General has been named as a respondent in all 3 petitions. The petitioners argued that clauses 1 to 4 of the proposed bill violate the principle of separation of powers guaranteed by the Constitution. They further claimed that one or more provisions in the bill infringe upon the sovereignty of the people and the independence enshrined in the Constitution. In addition to these petitions, Renuka Pereira, General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, along with 2 other citizens, have also filed 3 separate petitions challenging the bill.
Opposition MPs raised questions in Parliament today regarding a tender for the purchase of coal.
කැබිනට් එකට ගිහිල්ලා සති 6 අඩු කරගන්නවා සති 5ක.
They go to the cabinet and reduce the 6 weeks period to 5 weeks, but they don't stop there. While that's happening, they go back to the National Procurement Commission and say 5 weeks is not enough, that Sri Lanka will run out of coal. So, they asked to reduce it to 3 weeks. What is this? For the first time, an international tender is closing in 3 weeks. Why wasn't the tender put on time? First, the tender is delayed by 1.5 months. They said that the people who brought the coal during the last government were corrupt. They were called fraudsters, but they gave the same company another 6 months in a new deal. They gave them 6 more and pushed the tender back. After delaying the tender by 1.5 months, they go back to the procurement committee and say, give us 3 weeks to finish the tender or there will be no electricity next year. What are they doing? They are creating a system where they can give the tender to one of their cronies. Are you saying this with responsibility? This is a serious claim. It's regarding billions of dollars. What evidence do you have to say such a thing? Do you think a minister who is against this kind of corruption would ever do something so wrong? Yes, cabinet paper number 777-820-25P. It is through this cabinet paper that the 6-week period was reduced to 5. MP Ajit Pereira hasn't heard the best part yet. The tender must be signed by the chairman. This coal tender is normally supposed to be signed by the chairman. The chairman has been missing since last Monday. Today, he sent his resignation. He sent the letter of resignation saying that he cannot sign this.
Srimant
Dias Pereira resigned because he could not sign this. He resigned because he could not sign such a fraudulent tender. Before this, a company called SWEC was involved. They were the front company bringing in goods from the Russian black sand companies. Now that company called SWEC has a problem. A company called Potentia has been created. Your government is letting that company do this job and is now just watching. 120 million rupees were exchanged for this. Who took this? And which private secretary brought and gave it? I would like to say that we can provide the names and details if you want.
News First with the people.
News First, main sponsor.
A trusted place for your fixed deposits. Valuable FD, the symbol of stability. A trusted place for your fixed deposits. Valuable FD, 10.25% for 15 months, 11% for 24 months. Valuable FD, the symbol of stability.
A person travelling in a car was killed in a shooting at Tumbodiya on the Horana-Panadura main road. Police said that the shooting was carried out by 2 people who arrived on a motorcycle this afternoon. In more local news, steps have been taken to introduce a new excise duty category for electric vehicles that can operate their motors using fuel. The relevant regulations were presented to Parliament for approval.
Every category without a proper classification is currently assigned to a general category, which results in relatively high taxes. This is impractical. Considering these issues, cabinet approval was obtained to appoint a committee, which then reclassified vehicles using a new coding system. These codes now include the existing electric vehicle category and those between fully electric and hybrid types. Once the new HS codes are finalized, a unique tax structure will be applied. The new category we are introducing is neither fully electric nor fully hybrid. It falls in between. Accordingly, under several categories, special excise duties have been imposed for vehicles that fall between electric and hybrid classifications. The proposal ensures that lower-end vehicles are taxed less, while luxury vehicles with high specifications will be subject to higher tax rates.
Under the new HS code, vehicles imported under this classification will be subject to the same luxury tax rates currently applied to electric vehicles.
Pyramid Vilma Private Limited launched Chef's Hunt to empower culinary excellence across the island.
In news overseas, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi arrived in Pakistan on Thursday to attend the 6th strategic dialogue between China and Pakistan.
Pakistan and China share a long-standing strategic partnership with ties ranging across different sectors, including trade, energy, defense and infrastructure. The 5th round of strategic dialogue in May 2024 was co-chaired by Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar and his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi in Beijing. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi was received by Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Senator Ishaq Dar. Yesterday, the 6th trilateral Foreign Ministers dialogue was held in Kabul between Dar, Wang Yi and Afghan Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi, respectively, on the topics of political, economic and security cooperation. Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar termed his meeting with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi fruitful as the two leaders discussed various matters of mutual interest. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is expected to travel to Beijing at the end of this month to attend the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit from the 31st of August to the 1st of September. On the sidelines, he is also expected to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian leader Vladimir Putin.
Palestinians are fleeing parts of Gaza City after the Israeli military began the first stages of a planned ground offensive. Israel's troops have established a foothold on the outskirts of the city, which is home to more than 1 million Palestinians after days of intense bombing and artillery fire.
As the earlier stages of a massive assault on Gaza City take shape, Israel is calling up tens of thousands of reservists to take part in the impending military operation. The takeover and occupation of the larger city in northern Gaza, which Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said was one of the last Hamas strongholds, will require the military to bring in 60,000 more reserve troops and extend the service of another 20,000. Those plans have sparked growing condemnation, both internationally and domestically, over fears that the spiraling humanitarian and hunger crisis in Gaza will worsen and that the lives of the remaining hostages will be further at risk from an expanded military operation. After nearly 2 years of war, and with no end in sight amid the next major operation, Israel's military chief warned of the added burden on the troops, many of whom have been called up multiple times to fight in Gaza. IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir told the Security Cabinet earlier this month that the military faced attrition and burnout, but his concerns were dismissed as Netanyahu and his coalition partners pushed ahead with the new war plans. A new survey from the Agam Labs at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem suggested that approximately 40% of soldiers were slightly or significantly less motivated to serve, while a little more than 13% were more motivated. The findings underscore the stark reality facing Israel's military, which could face limits to its manpower, especially as polls have repeatedly shown an overwhelming majority of the country supports an end to the war.
Texas legislators have approved new congressional maps designed to give Republicans an edge in next year's elections for the U.S. House of Representatives. Republicans in the Texas House of Representatives passed the new voting lines in an 88-52 vote, creating 5 new Republican-leaning seats.
It followed a 2-week standoff in which Democrats fled the state to stall the vote and rally supporters against the redistricting plans. The maps will now go to the state Senate, where they are expected to be swiftly approved and then signed off by the Texas governor. The move by Texas has sparked redistricting battles across the U.S. in states run by both major parties. Republicans hold a slim majority in the lower chamber of Congress, which Democrats aim to win back in the 2026 midterm elections. Wednesday's vote in Texas followed a dramatic showdown as Democrats fled across state lines to deny Republicans the quorum necessary in the state legislative body to take a vote. In the time since Texas started planning these new voting maps, other states controlled by both political parties, including Florida, New York, Ohio and Missouri, have been weighing similar changes. California lawmakers are currently debating new maps that would give new advantages to Democrats in 5 districts, which would cancel out changes made in Texas. The new maps in Texas sparked uproar over gerrymandering, the redrawing of electoral boundaries to favor a political party, which is practiced by both main parties, and it's legal unless ruled to be racially motivated.
Frank Caprio, a retired municipal judge in Rhode Island who found online fame as a caring jurist and host of Court in Providence, has passed away. He was 88 years old at the time of his demise.
Looking at this little guy, and I say to myself, am I going to do that to him? Look at him. Tell us your full name.
Sneeze.
Okay, and how old are you?
6.
6 years old.
Frank Caprio, retired municipal judge from Rhode Island who became a global symbol of compassion in the courtroom through his viral show Caught in Providence, has passed away at the age of 88. According to an official statement released on his social media accounts, Judge Caprio died peacefully following a long and courageous battle with pancreatic cancer. Caprio gained widespread recognition for his empathetic approach to justice, often dismissing minor infractions with warmth and humor. His courtroom, famously described as a place where people and cases are met with kindness and compassion, became the setting for Caught in Providence, a show that amassed over 1 billion views across social media platforms. In contrast to the confrontational style of many televised judges, Caprio's demeanor was gentle, understanding, and deeply human. He often invited children to help pass judgment, listened intently to personal stories, and used his platform to highlight systematic issues such as unequal access to justice. Just days before his passing, Caprio posted a heartfelt video asking for prayers, sharing that he had returned to the hospital due to a health setback. Tributes have poured in from state and local leaders as well as fans around the world, honoring a man who redefined what justice could look like.
Now in local news, Pyramid Wilma Private Limited launched Chef's Hunt to empower culinary excellence across the island.
Pyramid Wilma Private Limited announced the launch of Chef's Hunt program in celebration of 20 years of excellence. Chef's Hunt will be carried out island-wide with the aim of awarding 25 culinary enthusiasts with a scholarship program. Sajad Mauzoon, Managing Director, Pyramid Wilma Private Limited, Tanveer Siddiq, Director, COO, Pyramid Wilma Private Limited, Yasarat Kamal Siri, CEO, MTV Private Limited, and Roshan Watawala, General Manager, Sales, MBC and Newsfirst were in attendance at the event.
Wilma was headquartered in Singapore, started in 1992, and today is the leading agribusiness company in Asia, top 3 listed company out of Singapore Stock Exchange, spanning over in 100 countries, almost about in 75 countries or more, with ground facilities, proper refineries, and the largest plantation company. Today, catering to more than 4,500 bakeries out of the 5,000 plus bakeries island-wide, and having in every household a brand, and as we speak, with an investment over 1 billion USD as a group, as an associate, we have coming.
We are celebrating our 20 years by giving back to our motherland, to treasure for the future generations, and to make the young generation of this country skillful and to be able to compete in international global standards. This is what Pyramid Wilma, although very less spoken over the last 20 odd years, stands for. It stands for its people, and it stands for the people of the soil.
Newsfirst is the official media partner of Pyramid Wilma Chef's Hunt.
The annual festival of the Nallur Kandaswamy Kovil in Jaffna was held today, drawing a massive crowd of devotees from around the world. The main ceremony followed 25 days of religious observances, including various sacrifices and offerings to the deity.
Before the commencement of the Theru festival, the historic temple bell was rung, upholding a cherished age-old tradition. Afterwards, the statue of Lord Kandaswamy was paraded around the temple in a beautifully adorned chariot. As in previous years, a large number of devotees gathered with deep devotion to witness the sacred procession. Newsfirst, Shakti TV and Shakti FM conducted a series of special programs at the Nallur festival. The Newsfirst spiritual pavilion, set up at the sacred site of Sivaguru Adinam, continued for the third day today. A model replica of the entrance to the Ruhunu Katarugama Mahadevalaya was also displayed in front of the spiritual pavilion, drawing significant attention. Screen tests and voice tests were held at the zone, offering selected youth a unique opportunity to present news. Blessings from devotees at temples and kovils across the country were also shared at the Newsfirst spiritual pavilion.
தபால் ஊழியர்களின் பணி பகிஷ்கரிப்பு இனி வெளிநாட்டு செய்தி தமிழும் சைவமும் தலைதூங்கும்
முறைகேடான முறையில் சொத்துக்களை ஈட்டியமை தொடர்பில்
அமெரிக்கா வலுவான பதிலடி கொடுக்க வேண்டும் என
The Shakti TV special zone continued for the third consecutive day. Shakti FM conducted a special broadcast from Nallur today. The annual festival of the Nallur Kandaswamy Kovil is set to conclude tomorrow with the Tirthotshavam ceremony.
திருவிழாக்களிலே இத்தனை பேர் ஒற்றுமையாக தங்கள் அன்பை பரிமாறிக்கொண்டு வெளிநாடுகளில் இருந்து வருகின்ற மக்களின் தொகை இன்று அதிகரித்து செல்கிறது என்றால்
It's the third day here at the special zone done by Newsfirst at the Nallur festival. So during the past 3 days, a lot of people turned up in numbers and they witnessed cultural performances, they took part in competitions and also they took part in screen tests as well. And today, the winners of the screen tests got the opportunity to be on few news bulletins done by Newsfirst. And talking about the Nallur festival, it is an example of diversity, about how people come together. And we have been reporting to you from last week, from the Vibhuti Yatra until we reached Nallur, and we have been reporting to you since the last 8 days. So I believe this was an example of diversity, about how beautiful our culture is. Reporting to you, I am Budmin Amar Divakara with Mahinda Gamage for Newsfirst.
Up next is Sports Roundup.
The Sri Lanka squad for the Zimbabwe One-Day International Tour was announced today. Charita Salanka will lead the 16-member team. The squad includes Nuwanindu Fernando and Dushmantha Chamira, who were not a part of the ODI series against Bangladesh, along with Pawan Ratnayaka. The two-match ODI series is scheduled to start on the 29th in Harare. Following that, the Sri Lankan team will also participate in the three-match T20 series. The Sri Lankan powerlifting team, which won medals at the 2025 Asian Powerlifting Championship, has returned to the island. They secured a total of 34 medals, including 27 golds, 4 silvers and 3 bronzes. The championship was held in Kathmandu, Nepal. American athlete Brittany Brown won the women's 200-meter event at the 2025 Lausanne Diamond League track and field competition. She finished with a time of 22.23 seconds. Brittany Brown is an Olympic bronze medalist in this event.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1 for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.